everyone, welcome back to Tactical Safety. Today we're going to briefly talk about the mass shooting that happened in Buffalo, New York a few days ago. We're going to talk about carry techniques, a few other things. So starting with that, it was 10 people that got killed, 3 injured. That situation, one of the people killed was a retired Buffalo police officer of 30 years, and he was doing security in the store. Apparently he was the only one that had a firearm. Now, as most people know, New York has the absolute worst firearms laws. Like New York, New Jersey, California, those are places I would never live, and I wouldn't recommend anyone who's a firearm enthusiast to even live in a place like that. Because any place that restricts your rights to defend yourself, to me, that's not a place I want to be, ever. So, in that place in Buffalo, and New York actually is getting sued as we speak because of the fact that they're violating people's Second Amendment rights by denying people's applications for concealed carry permits on the basis of self-protection, which that's a violation of people's Second Amendment rights right there in and of itself, because you're supposed to be able to protect yourself. And the only people in New York that can get the concealed carry permits are like the rich and famous, the elite of society, which I think is just plain ridiculous. So like in New York, had it been, let's say, 6-7 people, regular civilians who were armed and knew how to shoot, the situation would have probably turned out a lot different. But the shooter, he figured that none of these people would be armed. He figured he would have no resistance, and that's why he chose that place, in addition to him being a white supremacist. So the thing is, when you carry a weapon, I always emphasize, because I'm also a firearms instructor as well, in case you didn't know, and I always tell people that you should not carry a firearm that holds less than 10 rounds as a primary weapon. As a backup, that's fine. And also, people ask me all the time, should I carry an extra magazine or should I carry a backup firearm? Well, that's up to you. That's all personal preference. I know a lot of people who carry both. They'll carry like the magazine holder, have an extra mag as well as an extra firearm. And like me personally, I like carrying an extra firearm because of the fact that if I was in a situation, if my gun malfunctioned, I don't have to mess with it to get it to back in the fight. I can go to my alternate, my backup weapon easily. And I always tell people, you keep your backup weapon for your opposite hand. So if you're right-handed, you keep your backup weapon for your left hand. Plain and simple. And like I said, I don't believe in carrying a primary weapon that holds less than 10 rounds. So starting from my left to my right, this right here, this is a Glock 42. And also all these weapons were cleared before the camera started. This is a Glock 42. It's a .380 caliber. It holds, from the factory, it holds 6 rounds plus 1, but I got the Strike Industries magazine extension, so it holds 8 plus 1. And that firearm, you can actually fit it in, it's so thin, you can fit it, look how thin this is, you can easily fit it in your pocket, or, like how I carry it most of the time, is an ankle holster. And the ankle holsters that I prefer are the DeSantis leather. They're a little bit on the expensive side, but they're well worth it because it's very soft material right here. It's not going to cut off your circulation. It's very comfortable to wear all day. Even if you got to wear it for 10-12 hours, it's perfectly comfortable. And then also for that firearm, I have the Concealment Express inside the waistband holster too. And this has passive retention, which I like. And this holster, this is a right-handed holster because, like I said, backup weapon, keep your opposite hand. I'm left-handed, so of course I have a right-handed holster for this weapon. Some days I feel like carrying a primary, my Glock 43X, which is right here. And you see on this, I have a Hollison 407K micro red dot on this micro compact 9mm. Now this firearm, it comes from Glock with 2 10-round magazines, which I think are completely worthless because why have 10 when you can have 15? Shield Arms makes 15-round mags for these. They're about $40 each, so not that much at all. And the cool thing about it, it has the exact same footprint as the factory Glock mags, the 10-round mags. It does not stick out the bottom at all, any further than the 10-round mags. Now, if you want to carry something with the highest capacity, that's going to be like this Springfield XDM Elite Tactical 9mm. This also has a Hollison red dot. It's a 407C, which is the bigger version of the 407K. This firearm, it boasts 22 round capacity, and the magazine does not stick out that far past the mag well, as you can see. 22 rounds plus 1, but because this weapon is so large, it is not designated as a concealed carry firearm at all, by any chance, by any means. The next one's also a Springfield in Flat Dark Earth. This is the Springfield Hellcat. Got this maybe I don't know, a year ago or so. I'm actually going to put a Hollison 407K on this one, which is the same thing I have on the Glock 43X. Now this firearm, it comes from the factory with an 11 round mag as well as a 13 round mag. But then you can also order from Springfield the 15 round magazine. And the cool thing about it, the 15 round mag, if you look, it's not even a quarter of an inch taller than the 13 round mag. And it gives you a little more area to rest your pinky on. So it's a great firearm and it's extremely accurate. Next one is my Glock 27, which I've had this firearm for well over 20 years. This is the one I used to carry as, when I was a police officer, I carried this as my backup weapon all the time. And I carried it off duty all the time too. Now this has the exact same dimensions as the Glock 26, which is the 9mm equivalent of this. This is the 40 caliber, the 26 is the 9mm. Now this one, I used to carry this in a Phobos holster all the time. And you see it has the passive retention as well. You could be hanging upside down, you could be running, hopping fences, whatever. You're not going to lose your firearm. And also I carried this one when I was a mailman, because I delivered mail in the same town I was a police officer in. And when I carried this as my primary, I carried this little Kel-Tec PT-32 as my backup weapon. Now this one is, I think, one of the smallest firearms I have. Actually, no, it's not. I take that back. I stand corrected. I have a couple of Browning 25s that are even smaller than this. But this one, and I didn't have the Brownings back then, but this one I used to carry in my pocket all the time. But this Kel-Tec, I would not really recommend it because, like, I've had to send it back a couple of times because of issues with the firing pin. And if you have issues with the firing pin, that's not a weapon that you can depend on to save your life. Because if it goes click and not bang, that's a major problem, and you could die as a result of that. And over here, this is, oh, also these Glocks right here, the 19, the 23, and the 27, they're all Gen 3s. So the 19 and 23, they are physically, in terms of dimensions, they are identical. Same weight, same length, width, height, everything. But the 19 is a 9mm, which is like probably the most popular Glock. Pretty much everyone who has a Glock 19 in their collection. And the magazine for that one is right here. See, it holds 15 rounds plus one. The 23 looks identical to it, and it holds 13 rounds plus one. Now, when I bought this 23 years ago, that was when that crime bill was still in effect, and you could only get 10 round mags. They had 13 round mags available, but they were like almost $100. So I didn't have any until 2004 when the crime bill expired. Now, when I take these to the range, I never take like my 19 and 23 at the same time, just like I don't take the 26 and 27 at the same time, just like I don't take the 17 and 22 at the same time, because they look identical. And then when you're doing stuff like you're doing rapid mag changes and all that stuff, you have to be very, very diligent about what magazine you put in there. Because, for example, like this is the Glock 23 mag, 40 caliber mag. It will fit in the Glock 19, as you can see. It will fit in there. But if you try and cycle it, because the 40 caliber round is so much bigger, it's not going to seat into the barrel at all. But the magazine will fit in that weapon, and vice versa. The 9mm magazine from the Glock 23, from the Glock 19 will fit in the Glock 23 and will seat just fine. If you try and chamber this, then there's a good chance the bullet's just going to fall right through the barrel, because the 40 caliber has a much larger diameter. So, I said, when you're carrying, I have a lot of different holsters, because different types of weapons, and depending on what you're wearing, that will determine the best type of holster for you to carry that day. Like this type of holster right here, this is for the Springfield Hellcat. This holster is known as it's a DeSantis holster, which is the same brand as the ankle holster here. It's a Kydex holster as well. It has the passive retention, clicks in place. This is called a tuckable holster. So this part right here goes over your belt, and it allows you, actually, if you have a shirt that you want to tuck in, you can actually tuck your shirt in and still conceal this weapon. And still, with practice, I always tell people, when you get a new weapon, when you get a new holster, you have to practice your draw, always. And you can still tuck your shirt in with this and totally conceal the weapon. The only thing that'll be visible is a little bit of this clip right here for the belt. But like I said, when you get a new weapon, when you get a new holster, it is imperative to practice your draw. And when you do draw your weapon, it's also imperative to have your finger high on the register. You have it right here or right here. You never draw your weapon with your finger on the trigger. That's the one thing you don't want to do. And when you go places, I recommend, like me personally, when I carry things, I try to carry stuff just in my right hand, because since I'm left-handed, I like to keep my left hand free from my weapon should the need arise. And like I was saying, in New York, they have the absolute worst gun laws in the country. And if people had been allowed to exercise their Second Amendment rights, I think things would have turned out totally different, because if that domestic terrorist had 5 or 6 people shooting at him instead of one, the situation would have been resolved a lot quicker with much fewer casualties, guaranteed. Even if there were 5 or 6 people shooting at him, they still would have been outgunned, because he had an AR-15, and a handgun is really no match for an AR. But when you have multiple handguns going against AR, then you have much better chances of survival, much better chances of saving other people. And like I said, I always advocate for people to be armed. Always exercise your Second Amendment rights. Me personally, I try not to go anywhere where I cannot take a firearm. Plain and simple. Because firearms are a big part of my life, and if it's someplace I can't take my gun, then I'd rather not go. I'd rather stay at home. That's the reason why I don't travel internationally. I have not been out of the country, man, since I was in the Air Force. Actually, I'll take it back. Went on a cruise a few years ago, but couldn't really enjoy it like I wanted to, because of the fact that I'm so used to carrying a firearm, and I feel really uneasy without a firearm. I always like to have 1 or 2 on my person at all times. And also, when you're at home, a lot of people will lock their guns up when they're at home. Now, see, if you have kids, then yes, you never leave a gun laying around, especially when you have kids or irresponsible adults in the house. But if you don't have either of those in the house, me, I keep a firearm on my person whenever I'm at home. If I'm sitting there in my underwear, then obviously I don't have a gun on my person, but there's one within arm's reach, always. Some people believe in staging firearms, which means that you might have it hidden under a pillow over in this room, and then you might have it on a bookshelf in another room, might have it in a desk drawer in your office. I don't like that, because then there's too many places that you have to remember where you keep the firearms. So if you leave town and you want to secure those weapons, you have to go all around the house to collect those weapons and secure them and everything. And then if there's a home invasion and you have weapons staged around the house, there's a chance you might not be able to get to the nearest weapon. That's why I always say you keep it on your person or within arm's reach whenever you're at home, because home invasions are commonplace nowadays. And like I was saying about the highest capacity firearm, I would not recommend carrying something like this little Kel-Tec 32. It holds 6 rounds plus 1. It's the same capacity as the standard Glock 42 6 plus 1 if you don't have the extended mag. And if you carry that as a primary, I would not recommend it, because nowadays it's commonplace, as you see in the news, for there to be 2 or 3 assailants. So if you have to shoot 2 or 3 people, so you combine this, you're moving, they're moving, it's a lot of noise, you're shaking, so there's a good chance you're going to miss a few shots. And guess what? Misses do not end gunfights. Only hits do, and solid hits at that. And you want to have the firearm with the highest capacity to achieve that goal, which is not going to be a revolver. Revolvers are cool, but I would only carry one as a backup. Some people, especially a lot of older people, are like, I like revolvers. I like a wheel gun because it's dependable. You don't ever have to worry about it jamming. Hey, you don't have to worry about a good quality semi-automatic jamming on either, as long as you take care of it, as long as you lube it and everything. Because like I said before in my other videos, my rule of thumb is this: my carry firearms, I clean them at least once a month or immediately after shooting, whichever one comes first. My non-carry weapons, like this XDM Elite, for example, that's a non-carry weapon. I clean it either every 2 months or immediately after shooting, whichever one comes first. If you keep your weapon clean, keep it lubed, you don't have to worry about a malfunction. Also, if you buy good ammo, I don't recommend buying garbage ammo, because that can kill you right there, because your gun can blow up in your face like that if you have garbage ammo. If you don't have reliable ammo, that can easily get you killed. Because like I said, if you have 2 or 3 assailants that you need to dispatch, 6 rounds ain't gonna do it. You need to have at least 10. Even my smallest one I carry, like my Glock 27, this Glock 27 40 cal, this is a +2 extension by Pearce grip, and you will see the link for this, the grip extension in the, you will see a link for this in the description box. This is the +2 extension. For years, I had the +1 extension, which was probably not even a 1/4 of an inch shorter than this. I happened to be online one day on their site, and I saw the +2 extension. I'm like, wow, when did these come out? So I ordered a few of them. And like I said, it adds a finger grip to it, because the original grip of this, your pinky completely hangs off. With this +2 extension, you have a firm rest for your pinky finger, and you have 2 more rounds. That's the cool thing about it. So with this one, you have 11 rounds plus 1. The 26, you have 13 rounds plus 1 because it's 9mm. 9mm is smaller diameter, so you're able to fit more rounds in the same size magazine. So like I said, hopefully the Supreme Court rules in favor of the Second Amendment groups, and people there can start carrying, because me personally, I would carry anyway. I'm not going to put my life in danger just because some politicians don't think I should be able to defend myself. I used to always tell people when I was a police officer, I used to always tell people that when seconds matter, the police are minutes away. And that is the truth, because even though that Buffalo shooting, the cops were there within 1 minute, they say. 1 minute. But look at all the damage that was caused in less than a minute. Just think about that. Typical response time is 3 to 5 minutes. They were there in 1 minute. Always remember that you are responsible for your own personal safety and the personal safety of your family. You are responsible for that. The Supreme Court has ruled numerous times that the police are not responsible. The police do not have an obligation or duty to protect you. Their duty is to uphold the law, maintain peace, and uphold the Constitution. And if by chance they save you in the process, by chance, consider that an added bonus. But you need to be able to take care of yourself in those first moments. And a great equalizer to that is a firearm. Stay armed, stay vigilant, and stay tactical. We'll see you next time.